right, sorry everybody. Live show, my apologies. I was setting my my computer screen on. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marco Davis, President and CEO of CHCI, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight for the 2021 Public Policy and Graduate Fellowship Programs graduation. Tonight is the culmination of 9 months of hard work by our 14 public policy fellows and 7 graduate fellows. We started the program last August with the hopes that we'd be able to have tonight's event in person, but as you can see, the world had other plans. Nonetheless, we're still excited to celebrate even in this virtual way. Before we get started with the program, I want to make sure to thank our program sponsors and recognize and appreciate, first of all, for the Graduate Fellowship, our sponsors include Facebook, the PepsiCo Foundation, Casey Family Programs, the Walton Family Foundation, Bristol Myers Squibb, DaVita, and Wells Fargo. And we appreciate all of your support. And for the Public Policy Fellowship, we have the William R. Keenan Jr. Charitable Trust, Facebook, the PepsiCo Foundation, the American Petroleum Institute, the Coca-Cola Foundation, New York Life, Altria, Amazon, BP America, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and Google. As you can see, we had a tremendous amount of support for our Public Policy Fellowship, and we're really grateful for all of those corporate partners who have been with us throughout this past year of the fellowship. And in addition, I want to make sure to thank Ally Financial, who have provided funding for CHCI's Graduating Fellow Assistance Fund. With their support, we're going to be able to provide continued financial assistance to those fellows who have not yet secured their next job in this, as you all might know, particularly challenging environment where sometimes the job search and securing a new opportunity has been more difficult than usual, on top of the already severe economic impact on our community and on many families throughout the country. We have a great program planned for tonight. And so without any further ado, let's get started by welcoming our chairwoman, the distinguished Congresswoman from California, Congresswoman Nanette Diaz-Barragan.
Thank you for joining us as we celebrate the tremendous accomplishments of our public policy and graduate fellows. This current class is made up of 21 exceptional Latino leaders representing 12 different states, and more than half of them are the first in their family to attend college. These fellows are an embodiment of perseverance. They overcame the circumstances presented to them by a global pandemic, adapted to a virtual workplace, and are now uniquely equipped to continue their professional journeys and be leaders in their communities. Through their hard work and dedication, they have left their mark on Capitol Hill and the communities they served. During the past 9 months, they have worked incredibly hard in placements throughout the city, from nonprofits to think tanks, member offices to committees, and our fellows have put in many hours to improve policy outcomes, not just for the Latino community, but for the nation. Many of them learned how to work on the Hill without ever setting foot on it. They managed to build their skills and their networks, all virtually. As we celebrate the accomplishments and talent of the 2020-2021 CHCI Fellowship class, I'm happy to share that more than half of this year's fellows' post-fellowship plans include working on Capitol Hill, working at think tanks, and pursuing graduate school. And beyond DC, I'm especially excited to know a Latina fellow will soon join Harvard Law's class of 2024. I can tell you from experience how important it is to have more Latinas and Latinos in law school, practicing as lawyers and serving their communities. It's the only way to build a bench for more Latino judges, general counsels, district attorneys, U.S. attorneys, and so many of the doors that a law degree opens to you. These leaders are poised to take on the next chapter of their professional lives. They are joining an incredible list of alumni striving to uplift each other and the Latino community as a whole. We wish them well on their future endeavors and welcome them to the CHCI familia.
Thank you, Chairwoman Diaz-Barragan. And now our first guest speaker of the evening. It is my pleasure to introduce this freshman member of Congress, who in fact was elected to be the freshman representative on the leadership of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. She's on the House Committee on Natural Resources. She's chair of the Subcommittee for the Indigenous Peoples of the United States. She's on the House Committee on Education and Labor and on the Committee on House Administration. Representing New Mexico's 3rd District, please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Teresa Leger Fernandez.
Thank you, Marco, and thank you to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute for inspiring a new generation of Latina leaders. Thank you for building up the pipeline. Thank you for bringing the lived experiences from those 21 exceptional leaders to Congress to help us, to help our country, to help nuestras comunidades. I'm especially grateful that you saw the talent in your fellow Jess Pedrosa. I can tell you that Jess inspired me, right? She inspired everybody she worked alongside and everybody she interacted with as constituents and advocates. What's telling about your fellows program is that Jess inspired us, even though her and I were both newbies in Congress, right? So while everyone knew I didn't know what I was doing, nobody knew that Jess had never worked here before because she was so great. She stepped in, she handled everything. She had a full portfolio and worked on legislation until her very last day. The only complaint I have is that she was too good, right? Our constituent groups are going to be shocked and disappointed to hear that she isn't part of our permanent team. But you know, it's great because she's going to be part of Congressional Hispanic Caucus member Gallego's permanent team. But, you know, Jess shared with us that she had never really intended to work in Congress when she took the fellowship. And now here she is, right? You have created an opportunity that has changed Jess' trajectory in life. And in doing so has really helped us because she was in the classroom and she could sit in those ed meetings and give me advice. You know, she helped us fashion a lunch shaming bill. She helped us fashion several bills that we will be taking and trying to get passed this year. And, you know, that's really key. Now, the other thing, you know, Jess said that she didn't know that this was what she wanted to do, but she did it with joy, she did it with dedication, and she did it with passion. I always say that not all of us know, you know, when it says follow your passion, not everybody knows what their passion is. But Jess discovered it by doing what she is doing passionately. And I hope and I encourage everybody to do that, every CHC fellow and intern wherever you're headed. I'd like to just sort of end with a thought about when I was a lawyer. I know we have somebody headed to Harvard. I used to sit listening for hours to my clients debate in a language I didn't know. It was Tewa Keres Tiwa native languages. I'd listen and I turned to each speaker. And the only time I knew they were talking about me or my advice is when the word abogada is spoken. They had no word for attorneys in their native language. And interestingly, no word for poverty either. When it was my time to speak, I was better able to understand their concerns because I listened, even in my discomfort of not knowing what they were talking about. I would encourage all of you CHC graduates to learn to listen to what you can't understand, to become comfortable in discomfort, because we have a whole lot of that right now, and you're going to help change the trajectory of our nation, because we have the most diverse Congress now, but it's still not enough, right? There are only 10 Latinas in Congress. So you need to go out there, build that pipeline, come back, work for us, run for office, make a difference, and for all that you're going to do, I am incredibly grateful to you. So muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes y siempre somos familia, indeed.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Great to see you. We appreciate your leadership there, representing us in Congress. And we appreciate you hosting our graduate fellow, Jess Pedrosa, this spring. She's had a wonderful experience, as I know you know, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. So thanks for being here with us tonight. And now our next guest we have this evening, a distinguished gentleman from the great state of Texas and a strong ally and friend of CHCI. He serves on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and the House Veterans Affairs Committee. And similar to Congresswoman Ledger Fernandez, he hosted one of our fellows, Octavio Sarraga, this spring. So please welcome from the 32nd District of Texas, Congressman COLIN ALLRED.
Well, thank you, Marco. And hey, everybody, I'm COLIN ALLRED, and I'm really proud to represent the 32nd District of Texas and to be with y'all this evening as we celebrate the culmination of your time as CHCI Public Policy and Graduate Fellows. You know, I know that over the course of the past 9 months, you all have undertaken some really important and impactful work, and you've poured yourself into every project that you've worked on, every meeting you've attended, and every piece of input that you've given, all in the name of ensuring that the American people are served by the most effective government possible. As Marco mentioned, I was lucky enough to have a member of your class working in my office, Octavio Sarraga. And so I got to witness firsthand the dedication of CHCI fellows and how they approach their work on a daily basis. And in my office, we already miss Octavio, and I know that all of the offices in which y'all worked feel the same way, just like Teresa was saying. And along the way, I hope that you've grown as people and as leaders, gaining the tools and developing the skills to affect positive change in your communities to make our country stronger as a whole. And of course, I know that you did all of this in a year like no other. And I want to tell you that I'm inspired by the grace and perseverance that y'all navigated the twists and turns this pandemic has brought your way. It's difficult to be a fellow at any time or to be an intern at any time. But during this pandemic, I know how hard it's been. And the American people have benefited from your hard work and dedication. You know, I actually got my start as in government as an intern in the White House in the White House counsel's office, where I was working while I was in law school. And that's how I ended up being an appointee in the Obama administration. I went from there to do voting rights litigation and ultimately ran for Congress in my hometown and, you know, got elected. And as Teresa said, we need more folks from backgrounds, you know, not only like mine and like yours, but backgrounds in which an internship might be the only way that you ever, you know, have any entry point into our government. I didn't know how you get involved in your government, but when I got to meet President Obama, he told us one thing that I always remember. He said that, you know, government's not them. It's not a faraway entity. It's us, and it's made up of people. And it's made up, hopefully, of good people like you who care and who understand just how important it is that we provide the ladders of opportunity that were available to us. And I was raised here in Dallas by a single mother. I went to public schools. I was fortunate enough to play football, and that gave me a chance to chase my version of the American dream. But I want to make sure that's available to everyone. And I know that's what y'all care about too. And so I want to just thank you so much for participating in this program. Our government works better when we have folks like you who are willing to give your time and your talent and your efforts to work with our constituents, to work with us, to make sure that we create better policy. And I'm really grateful for the work of the CHCI in helping young Latino leaders like yourselves grow and have that step in and find a way in to maybe chase whatever dream that you have. Many of you will likely have long careers in Washington in front of you. And I know that our government and our country is going to be better for it. So as a class, you're leaving this program at a challenging time for our nation, and we need you. We need you now more than ever to take your exceptional talents, to take the world experiences that you have, to take the understanding that you have that our diversity is one of our strongest and most important factors in our country, and to make this country what we all know that it can be. So thank you again for working with us. Thank you for the work that you've done. I, along with all of my colleagues, are so proud of everything that you've accomplished this year. And I can't wait to hear about all the things you're going to do in the years to come. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Congressman. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate your partnership, and we continue to look forward working with you as well over the years. All right, and on to our next guest speaker, who is a true trailblazer in our community. One of the important facts to know about our next speaker is that her father, Edward R. Roybal, was a founding member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. But that's actually one of the least notable facts about her, believe it or not. She was the first Mexican-American woman elected to Congress. She was the first Latina to serve on the House Appropriations Committee. She is now the chairwoman of the Homeland Security Appropriations Committee, and she's a member of the Board of Regents of the Smithsonian Institution. She is a longtime friend, a strong and dedicated champion of CHCI and of the causes of the Latino community. So please join me in welcoming from the 40th District of California, Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard.
Good evening. I'm Congresswoman Lucille Roybal-Allard, representing California's 40th Congressional District, which has the unique distinction of being home to the highest percentage of dreamers of any district in the country. On behalf of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, thank you for attending the 2021 Public Policy and Graduate Fellowship graduation. My father, former Congressman Edward R. Roybal, was a founding member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and the CHCI. He founded these organizations because he knew that it was only by having Latinos as part of the legislative, executive, and judicial policy-making process that the interests and opportunities of Hispanics could be advanced. Moving this agenda forward, the CHC and CHCI have worked together to prepare you, the next generation of Latino leaders. Throughout this generation-defining pandemic, you and your cohort have shown unprecedented resilience and have made a significant impact on the Hill. I was thrilled to host Israel Garcia as the CHCI Graduate Health Fellow. He assisted my legislative team in the health, education, and labor portfolio. He took stakeholder meetings, assisted in hearings, conducted research, made policy recommendations, and oversaw the Public Health Caucus. I was so impressed by the quality of his work and professionalism. I am happy to report Israel has joined my legislative staff in Washington, D.C. As each of you continue in your chosen careers, I hope that you will always remember the passion that led you to begin your journey. I hope you'll remember the time in your fellowship and that you will use the lessons and the skills that you have learned to be positive change makers, but never forgetting that while success often requires compromise, compromise must never be on the values you hold dear. Each of you will approach this issue in your own way. What has worked for me is that before being subjected to the pressures and temptations of elected office, I examined my values and clearly drew the lines that I would never cross regardless of the consequences, including losing my election. You, like the generation of trailblazers before you, will challenge and be challenged. You will have setbacks as you work to create positive change. But by remaining true to your values and through your perseverance, you will win great victories for our communities and our country at large. Like Israel and all the fellows I have met over the years, I continue to be inspired by the drive and motivation that you all bring to the program. I have no doubt that you will be great leaders who will lift Latino voices in government, business, and beyond. Once again, congratulations to this year's graduating class. I wish you all the best as you embark on your next chapter of your life.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We appreciate those inspiring words. We appreciate your leadership, your steadfast support for our community and for CHCI. And we thank you for all of your leadership and guidance in hosting our fellow, Israel Garcia, and of course for hiring him. We're really glad that he landed in such an awesome place to be able to continue contributing both to your office and to the nation. And finally, our fourth guest speaker that we have tonight, who also hosted one of our fellows, Lillian Sanchez, this spring. There's a recurring theme, if you haven't noticed. Our guest speakers have been directly involved in the program this year, and we're really grateful for that. Our next speaker sits on the House Budget Committee, on the House Judiciary Committee, and the House Education and Labor Committee. She's also the senior whip of the Democratic Caucus and chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. So please welcome, from the 7th District of the state of Washington, Congresswoman PAMELA Jayapal.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman PAMELA Jayapal, and I'm proud to represent Washington's 7th Congressional District in the House of Representatives. Thank you for inviting me to share a few words with you today. First off, congratulations to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute's 2021 Public Policy and Graduate Fellows. I've been lucky enough to have one of the most fabulous members of this graduating class as a fellow in my office. Lillian's hard work, attention to policy details, and incredible spirit have been immensely helpful to all of the work that we do at such a pivotal moment for our agenda. As the first South Asian American woman ever elected to the House of Representatives and one of only 24 immigrants serving in Congress today, I understand how important it is to have diverse voices in the rooms where decisions are made and where policy is written. But unfortunately, so much of our government still lacks the diversity of the communities that we represent. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute is helping to change all of that. Helping to provide these fellowships helps to break down the barriers that exist and to get our best and our brightest, all of you, into the rooms and Zooms that you should be in. So as you consider your next steps, please remember that your voice is vital and must be heard. Continue your public service in any way you can. Continue asking the tough questions. Continue researching, learning, and driving the policy making that we do, and continue using the power you have. Never stop speaking up for yourself, for all of our communities, or for what is right. Congratulations again, and I wish each and every one of you the best of luck in whatever comes next.
Hello, everyone. We're so glad that you're here with us to celebrate the success of our fellows. My name is Pamela Sanchez, and I'm the manager of fellowship programs. And I have the privilege of directly experiencing the strength and the growth of this cohort over the last 9 months. During the fellowship, fellows have challenged themselves in their placements, during cohort conversations, and when examining their role in our communities. There's no one better to share about the fellow experience than our fellows themselves. Next, we will hear from 2 fellows chosen by their peers to represent their class. First, we have MARINA SANGIT, our CHCI Child Welfare Graduate Fellow from Chatsworth, California. She completed her first placement at the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and most recently completed her second placement with the Senate Committee on Finance. Help me in welcoming our graduate fellow speaker, MARINA SANGIT.
Good evening, everyone. My name is MARINA SANGIT, and I'm honored to represent this year's Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Graduate Fellows. Before I begin, I'd like to welcome and give thanks to the friends, families, mentors, and communities watching in support of this year's CHCI Fellowship Program. This journey would not have been possible without your support. Thank you to CHCI, our amazing alum network, and corporate sponsors for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And finally, I'd like to give a special thank you to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and Senate Finance Committee for blessing me with invaluable mentorship and environments that nurtured my growth. And to my new office, the Office of Senator Padilla, who believed in my potential and brought me on to their exceptional team. My mother and father and my grandparents are the most diligent, hardworking, and intelligent people I know. Like many in our community, they immigrated here for a better life, to chase the American dream. And I grew up watching my parents sacrifice their sleep and at times their health to make sure that this dream was possible for me. So on my first day as a fellow, as I virtually entered our nation's halls of power, I felt the weight of responsibility to make sure that as a fellow, I was excellent. I wanted to show them that their sacrifices had meaning. I wanted to show them that a young Latina South Asian woman could not only represent her family in one of the most powerful institutions in the world, but could be successful within it. As fellows, I believe all of us felt that same responsibility to our families and to our communities. I think we felt this responsibility even more deeply as the COVID-19 pandemic showed in real time a country only beginning to grapple with the inequity deeply rooted in its foundation. Social determinants of health, inequality in the workforce, children and families still at the border, and the Asian and Black communities impacted by hate and race-motivated violence all came to the forefront during our time as fellows. At the same time these issues were impacting us personally, many of us had to buckle down and attempt to solve them. That is why it is one of my deepest held convictions that we do not choose to do policy, rather policy chooses us, because policy, like politics, is deeply personal. Working in policy, there's a subconscious communal worry, a held breath that our communities, our families may not get the support they need. And in acknowledging that a better future is possible, we continue to work. We pay forward our own family sacrifices by actively and intentionally choosing to fight for the next generation of families and children. So when I say that our cohort is truly in a league of its own, I mean it. I could say that my cohort is resilient, but that's a given. And I think that describing my cohort as resilient centers our collective experiences around our struggles. Instead, I'd like to offer a different perspective. If I could describe my cohort in one word, it would be gentle. I believe that it takes a truly gentle person to wade through seas of hardship and remain kind, compassionate. As a cohort, I think it's our defining quality because our comunidad has always been centered in care for one another. I saw it when we reassured one another in moments of vulnerability and the way we actively hyped each other up and genuinely celebrated each other's successes. How we showed up for one another when we needed a friend. How we laughed together. How we have inside jokes. Plus one of you agree with me. And are you in the waiting room too? The endless happy hours and the long nights we stayed up with each other. Those briefings were really hard to write, and I cannot believe how late we stayed up during reconciliation. We have a gentleness so strong that our friendships and bonds transcended the need to meet each other in person. And I was blessed to witness a cohort fearless in the face of things that made them afraid. And I witnessed a cohort authentically kind and patient and caring. And as this chapter of our life closes, I want to remind you that when we walk into rooms that were not made for us, that we are powerful beyond measure, that we are generations of survival, art, history, and community, and that watering ourselves down is a disservice to all those around us. I hope that in moments where we may find ourselves doubting our incredible power, that we look back to this time in our lives and remember that who we are is exactly who we need to be, and that the world is much brighter and better with us in it. Thank you for the memories, the joy, and the bonds that will last a lifetime. CHCI Fellowship Class of 2020, we're just getting started.
Apologies, I had muted myself. Well, zoom in. Well, again, thank you so much, Marina. We're so thankful for your words of encouragement, vulnerability, and truth today and over the last 9 months. Next, we have MAYRA Lozano, our CHCI Altria Public Policy Fellow from Compton, California. She completed her placement at the U.S. Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs. Help me in welcoming our Public Policy Fellow speaker, MAYRA LOZANO.
Good evening, friends and family. My name is MAYRA LOZANO, and I am honored to be here today to celebrate your loved ones and their accomplishments. I want to start off by giving a special thank you to the staff at the Senate Banking and Housing Committee for their ongoing support, encouragement, and care. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my parents who don't fully understand what it is that I do, but that nevertheless are proud of me. This moment is bittersweet. While it's exciting to see the cohort branch out all over the world, I will miss seeing your faces on my screen every Friday. Thank you for allowing me to share some words with you today. I hope I do you justice. As Latinx people, when we enter a new space, we are often reminded that in order to be successful, we have to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Yet, to be grateful for the opportunity to be chosen, all while advocating for our communities, but not too loudly, just the right amount. In other words, we are expected to be entrepreneurs, exceptional, out of this world, but palatable. For many of us, this was the first time we got a seat at the table, well, at least virtually. We shared the collective weight of being the first ones in our families or the few and far in between. We asked ourselves if we deserved to be in conversations about policies and laws, even though we have firsthand experience of its impact. My earliest recollection of policy happened on my first birthday in the United States. I was turning 5 years old. My family and I were headed to our local park to celebrate with the piñata. We never get there because a police officer profiled my papa, called him illegal, and towed our car. A struggle our community knows too well, a story shared by many other immigrants in this country. That word, illegal, has followed me throughout my life. Sometimes replaced by the word undocumented, other times by the word dreamer, but all of them a reminder of not belonging. It took me a while to realize that no matter how well I spoke English, a language that refuses to pronounce my name correctly would never be enough. By that I mean, this country that many of us call home is not enough. It needs to be better for all of us. It needs to be better for our farm workers who have always been essential, for the street vendors who fill our communities with treats, reminding us just how special it is to be different, and for our garment workers that clothe us. It has to be better for the Black community that continues to lead the fight for racial justice, for our Asian siblings that have called for accountability with immeasurable strength, for the Indigenous community that rejects the notion of borders on stolen land, and for all the youth of color that deserve to live in a world where they can be children before anything else. Maybe I'm dreaming too big, but that's what CHCI is all about. At some point, this very fellowship seemed impossible. Look at us now, another amazing group of Latinx leaders ready to break glass ceilings, or better yet, to remove them altogether. I am extremely proud of every single person in this cohort whose passion for policy stems from a collective vision for a better future, one that not only includes people of color, but that is willing to hold itself accountable both past and present. As we enter the next chapter of our lives, I want us to remember that community is everywhere and that we have made monumental strides together. These movements that started before us and that will continue after us were never meant to be palatable. I invite everyone, including myself, to be loud, to take up space, and to not settle. We deserve more. Congratulations to you and your families. I can't wait for our paths to cross again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayra. We can always count on you to ground us in our why of our work and our passions. I want to take a moment to thank the offices that welcome our fellows every year for their support, mentorship, and dedication to our fellows. Placements like yours are the reason our fellows continue to succeed professionally and personally, even beyond their time as a fellow. We seriously cannot thank you enough. With that, I am proud to present the 2020-2021 CHCI Public Policy and Graduate Fellow class. Congratulations again to our 2020-2021 CHCI Public Policy and Graduate Fellow class. We are so incredibly proud of your accomplishments during these last 9 months, and we're excited to continue following and supporting your journey. Every single one of you carries and shares a unique perspective, and we know you will continue to impact the Latino community in every single space that you enter. To welcome you into the CHCI familia, I am proud to welcome our CHCI National Alumni Association President, Jose Plaza.
Thank you, Pam. First and foremost, I would like to thank Marco and the CHCI staff for facilitating another great program and providing such a rewarding experience for the graduates as we navigated through this pandemic. Thank you to our program sponsors and to the elected officials and organizations who have opened their offices to provide an invaluable experience for this class. To this year's cohort, congratulations. Your admittance into CHCI is no small feat. You all represent the best and brightest for our community. That is both an accolade and a serious responsibility to dwell on. For every one of you admitted, there were countless others that were not granted a spot in our program. Now, as a graduate of CHCI, you have the responsibility to continue opening the doors and leading others like you into similar opportunities. Years ago, when I moved to DC to complete my fellowship, I remember being scared and excited at the prospect of picking up and doing something completely different. Yet, in retrospect, having completed CHCI resulted in me recognizing that the goals I had set for myself were just but scratching the surface at the success to come. I challenge you now to dream bigger and recognize the amazing accomplishment that this is. The last few years, this generation has experienced political unrest, a racial reckoning, and an urgent call to action to right the wrongs of those that came before us. As people of color, as immigrants, as children of immigrants, our communities have faced consistent challenges, but difficulties have been part of this learning process and made us that much more resilient. It is your duty now to use this experience to embolden yourself and continue making strides. For some, this might just be another line in their resume, but I challenge you to strengthen the relationships built, recommit yourselves to the ideals which you listed on your application, and utilize this vast alumni network to affect change in your community. Your journey is just getting started, and when you look back at these moments, I hope you will appreciate the lessons and the fact that through a pandemic, shifting learning modalities, and in a world trying to figure out how to survive, you successfully completed this program. CHCI for me was a life changer, and it is why years later I continue committed to ensuring that young people have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I have the privilege of serving as a national president for the CHCI Alumni Association and representing the more than 4,000 alumni across the country. I hope wherever you call home, be it Las Vegas, Kansas, New Mexico, Garland, Texas, Florida, or Chatsworth, California, you will continue learning, bettering yourself and your community, and utilize the CHCI Alumni Association as a resource for your continued success. So without further ado, it is my pleasure and privilege as the president of the Alumni Association to welcome you to our alumni familia and hope that you will remain active as an alum. CHCI and the Alumni Association are only as reputable as its members, and I hope you will take an active part in continuing to elevate our organization. Go out and make this a better world. Felicidades y seguimos en la lucha. Gracias.
Thank you, Jose, for those words, for the encouragement of the newest members of the Alumni Association and the Alumni Network, and of course for your continued leadership of the CHCI Alumni Association. We appreciate all that you do. Before we conclude our program, I want to take a moment to thank our programs team for all of their hard work in making this year's program happen. You may not have realized it, but in the nearly 40-year history of the CHCI Fellowship Program, we have never done the program without our fellows present here in Washington, D.C. And yet, the team adapted faster and better than any group I'd ever seen, almost without missing a beat, putting together an incredible program as evidenced by the reactions and the comments we've heard from the fellows throughout the year. I particularly want to thank Pam Sanchez, the manager of the fellowship program, who you just heard from, for her hard work and dedication in making the program a reality, and also the leadership and tireless work of our program's VP, Marie Cho, who's one of the longest serving staffers on CHCI and without whom we would not have been able to pivot as effectively as we did, or to build on the experience and the insights we gained over the years of running this program in order to put it together the way it's been. So I thank you both and all of the rest of the team, including our incredibly talented events team who helped put together events like this graduation, and all of the CHCI staff that helped make all of the things work that happen at CHCI so that we can deliver programs and have activities like this and create experiences for our fellows. Speaking of our fellows, we're so proud of everything they've accomplished. In fact, nearly half of the cohort have already secured their next role, which, if you don't know, is an important consideration, as our fellows are not only eager to continue on with their careers, but want to continue making an impact. And of course, in this current challenging environment, have the need to continue supporting themselves, their families, and contributing to their community. So we are really excited to note that 3 of our fellows will be staying on the Hill, working in CHC member offices, in fact. 2 other fellows will be staying on the Hill, hired on by the committees they were placed in. 1 fellow was selected as a Wrangell International Affairs Graduate Fellow and will be attending Harvard Kennedy School for his Master's in Public Policy. Another fellow was selected as an SEO Law Fellow and will be attending Harvard Law School. Another fellow will be working at the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And finally, 1 other fellow was selected as an IDA Science and Technology Policy Institute Fellow. As you can see, they've already set a tremendous track record of going on to incredible opportunities and being able to contribute their talents in really strategic places. And we are extremely confident and optimistic that all of the fellows will continue to make an impact, just like this first group has, where they land, doing great things, continuing their learning, and applying their skills and experiences. So we welcome you to the graduating class. And finally, I want to thank you, the fellows, our graduate and public policy program fellows, who essentially took a chance on us, who participated in our first all virtual program, sight unseen. Some of you traveled across the country and moved to Washington anyway. Some of you stayed in the cities where you were. You participated in this program that you weren't sure what to expect, and we weren't sure, we couldn't guarantee, because it was new even for us, that it was going to be the fulfilling experience that we hoped we would be able to provide. And thankfully, as far as we've heard from you, it was everything you hoped it would be. It has been a tremendous leadership experience. We really look forward to continuing to rely on your leadership. We look forward to working with you as alumni. We look forward to relying on you and receiving the support, or rather being able to support you as leaders as you go on to take even more and more impactful roles in our community and our society. And finally, I want to take a page from the remarks that we just heard a few moments ago. I want to thank all of you, the families of our fellows, for the incredible work you all have done in raising, in supporting, in encouraging, in affirming, and as the young people like to say, in truly seeing these emerging leaders for who they are and allowing them to develop into the leaders that they are and to begin to take their rightful places as leaders in our society. So, best of luck to you all. Thank you to our guest speakers. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and we look forward to seeing you at the next CHCI activity. And as always, please stay safe and healthy.